Vandals. Trump says that there's vandals vandalizing. They have vandalized the reflecting pool. Let's see what the New York Times says. I think it makes sense, you know. Somebody going underwater to cut a 350-foot gash. That makes sense to me. So anyway, let's see what the New York Times says. The Lincoln Memorial Reflecting Pool was supposed to be the centerpiece of President Trump's makeover of Washington. His administration spent $16.4 million on its renovation, giving out a no-contract bid to that guy that everybody's seen in those photos. And to me, he looks like a guy who auditioned to play the evil villain, and he didn't get the part, you know. He didn't even get a call back. And he was feeling good about it too. Like he got all spruced up for the casting. He had his lines down. And his company is called Greenwater, which, you know, anyway, okay, let's get back here. His administration spent $16.4 million on a no-bid contract to that guy who didn't get the part. He tried hard though. He was sad about it too afterwards. Okay. To improve its filtration system and spread blue waterproof coating across the concrete floor. Just days after, problems appeared. The water turned bright green. This is what the New York Times says, okay? The new blue coating peeled and floated to the surface. In recent days, Mr. Trump has repeatedly blamed these problems on vandals. Fucking vandals, man. You know, you try to do something good and vandals come along and vandalize it. It's a very frustrating thing. It can be a very frustrating thing, especially when you really put your heart and soul into it, like Donald Trump obviously did with this project and with his guy, with his the guy who didn't get the part. This was a passion project for them. They put a ton of time and effort into this thing, and then to have vandals come along and just, you know, flip up the table like it doesn't matter, nothing matters here. It's bullshit, and it could be hurtful to them, is what I think. Okay, so it says at least 3 problems have surfaced since the pool was refilled. The most visible one was algae, which has always plagued the pool, they say. I've heard people saying because it can be really hot in DC, and there's just sun beaming down on the water there, and it doesn't like circulate at all, so it just like causes algae. So maybe that's not the fault of the guy who didn't get the part, but maybe it was. I don't know. Could have been. Anyway, just days after algae returned and turned the water a bright shade of green, that problem now seems to have abated. The water appears clearer, with new purification systems and Park Service employees vacuuming up algae. As the algae bloomed, another problem became apparent. Sections of the pool's new blue coating began to peel off the bottom and float up to the surface. That does sound problematic. You know, you want to have like a nice reflecting pool with a nice blue coated base, and then to have the chunks sort of floating up and about, mixed in with green algae. I feel like that does sort of it makes it's not as good like that. Now, what has Trump said? Okay, so anyway, and then it says the government has given varying estimates of the length of the cuts that were made through the blue stuff, from 20 feet to more than 350 feet. What has Trump said? Mr. Trump has blamed all 3 problems on fucking vandals. You know? It's like people are sitting around their apartment in DC. Oh, what are we gonna get into today? I don't know. Well, we could go vandalize the reflecting pool. No, that's not well, maybe that is a good idea. We could do. Okay. I didn't, you know, I wouldn't get the part either. Okay, so Trump said that the algae bloom may have happened because people dumped fertilizer in the water. Fertilizer is a very expensive product nowadays, with the Strait of Hormuz being closed off and a large portion of the world's fertilizer not coming out. It's a very expensive product, so these vandals they put they put their savings into this project. They went and bought some fertilizer and poured it into. Okay, what else has Trump said here? They did something to create the algae, Trump said in an event with reporters on Monday. Mr. Trump said that the pool's blue coating was peeling because vandals had cut it and pulled it apart. In a social media post, the president said the coating was cut and powerfully lifted off the surface, leaving very jagged and uneven edges. And it also left the stuff floating in there along with the algae. Problematic. Anyway, what I want to say about this is that, do you remember of course you remember, when Trump said he could shoot a guy on Fifth Avenue and he wouldn't lose any voters? And I think what he actually meant was that he can lie about anything he wants to, and people will believe it. And that's what this is. That's what I think this is. I think that he hired a guy short notice with no experience to do such work, which I have heard other people say that it's an extremely expensive. It would have been to do it right would have been a very expensive project. 16 million wouldn't have been enough to do it. But anyway, so the 16 million goes to the guy who looks like the Penguin, or the guy with the big cigar. I'll see if I can put him in the thumbnail, if I can figure out how, but I don't really know how yet, but I'll see. Okay. Yeah, but I think probably, he pays this guy. The guy has his ragtag crew out there. They try and do a really quick job, put down the blue coating as fast as possible and refill up the tank as fast as possible. And it probably wasn't enough time for the shit to settle and hold. That's what I think happened. And then the sun beats down. A couple days later, it's falling apart. The algae's already coming in naturally. Plus, you throw that blue shit in there, and it's probably creating some mutant algae. But then Trump says this is vandals. And it's also, here's the other thing that this reminds me of. It's that Trump, he says that, I don't know if you've heard him say, I'm not sure if it's from him or Steve Bannon, or one of them was saying, you just keep lying. You just keep saying it. Just keep saying it. Keep saying it. And so if you notice when Trump talks about this, he says, oh, the vandals. Oh, they've been vandalizing things. They're vandals. And it's like he wants to just get that into people's minds. And I think that people who aren't paying that close of attention to his shenanigans, they could believe it. Because if you're just sort of passing by, and you're like, oh, vandals, and you're like, oh gosh, vandals, yeah, I don't know, maybe whatever. You don't think about it again. But anyone who's thinking about this, paying attention, who pays any attention to Trump, this guy's full of he just lies a lot, man. He lies an extraordinary amount for a person, and he's not trustworthy. And so the reflecting pool, to me, it's that's what it is. He believes that he can say whatever he wants and not lose public support. So, and probably also the deal with the guy with the cigar was probably not above board. Probably a super sketchy, corrupt deal. And so he's like, let's just cover all this shit, all the physical problems with the pool and the corruption problems with the deal. If we blame it on vandals, it sort of can potentially mask all of it at once. That's what I think happened. Tell me what you think.